In the early years of his legendary war on crime, Bruce Wayne had a realization. My enemies constantly try to get into my head, he thought to himself, ruminating on the many horrifying and deadly villains that try to kill the Batman each and every night. Whether it's through their mind games or their concoctions, they want to use my inner thoughts to control me. Looking down into a gigantic sensory deprivation tank, Bruce stood beside his trusty butler, Alfred. Visibly concerned by stoically awaiting order, Alfred voiced his reservations.
Are you sure this is a good idea, sir? Forcing yourself to do this, I worry what this could do to your psyche in the long term. What it might create in you.
His worries were ignored, and Batman lowered the breathing apparatus down over his face.
Pull me out after 24 hours, Alfred,
Batman said, convinced of his mission. With no further words spoken between the two, Bruce stepped off the platform and plunged into the water below. As Batman floated, suspended in the glass tank, the night Bruce Wayne's parents were shot down before his very eyes played over and over again in his mind. He felt the warmth of his mother's hand, the hearty chuckle of his father. Kept in the trance-like lull of sensory deprivation, Bruce heard the gunshots that sent his mother, then his father, crumpling to the street as loud as they were that fateful night. He saw their blood run red into the sewers once more. He felt the loss as though he was once again that small, helpless child. Again and again, the images flashed through his mind. Bruce was helpless to relive any other moment from his life, stuck eternally in a torturous cycle of trauma and grief. The face of the mugger who took his parents from him, lit by the harsh flash of the gun's discharge, plastered in Bruce's mind. Bang! He saw them die. Bang! He watched them bleed. Bang! His mother's pearls clattered across the alley. Abruptly, Bruce thrashed and flailed as he was lifted from the water's cool embrace. He coughed and sputtered as he threw his mask to the ground, turning to glare at Alfred.
I said 24 hours, Alfred!
Bruce yelled, anger piercing through his voice like a knife.
Sir?
Alfred replied steadily.
That was 24 hours.
Bruce's rage subsided, and he lay out on his back, exhausted from the psychological turmoil he had experienced.
Was it worth it?
Alfred asked.
I'll never be over the night Joe Chill killed my parents,
Bruce told him, having seen his psyche laid bare before him.
No matter how many times I witness it, nothing will ever take the pain of that night in Crime Alley away, except for the end of my mission here in Gotham.
Bruce took deep breaths, trying to steady himself.
But I believe this will come in handy someday,
he said forebodingly. Flash forward to the present, when a new mysterious supervillain has placed the entire world into a deep, unending slumber. Trapped inside his own dreams, Bruce finds he is not the tall, dark, brooding Batman he once was. Rather, he recognizes his appearance as the same one he wore that one fateful, horrible night.
I remember this suit,
Bruce says, looking around his own dreamscape frantically. I wore it that night in Crime Alley. Suddenly, a hauntingly familiar voice echoes out across the dream.
Son, is that you?
Bruce's eyes grow wide. Father? He whispers in the darkness. The voice responds in low, hushed tones.
Bruce, my boy, it's been so long. I missed you so.
Come, join your mother and I. Bruce's face goes from that of a fearful child to that of a rage-fueled adult in an instant. No, he says adamantly, you are not my father. I'm not a young boy in this alley. None of this is real. I remember now. The moments before Batman became trapped in this terrible dream realm begin to return to his memory. John Dee was killed in Arkham Tower. You took over his dead body and attacked me with giant spiders and they knocked me out, Batman says into the dream. All of this is a nightmare. His foggy memories starting to clear, the meek figure of the young Bruce Wayne stands with all the confidence of Batman as Bruce struggles to uncover a way back to the waking world. I've trained for moments like this, he tells himself. Wake up! Why can't I? But a quiet rumbling catches his ear before he can wake himself. What is that? Bruce can't help but wonder aloud. Looking down the length of the alley, humongous marble boulders suddenly barreling down towards the young Bruce. Bouncing off of walls and cascading against each other, the avalanche looks sure to flatten any that stand in its path. My mother's pearls, Bruce whispers, horror-struck. The pearls whip past him as he desperately dives into another alleyway, narrowly saving himself from becoming a pancake on the pavement. Bruce looks up from the concrete, and suddenly the alleyway is gone. He's inside a beautifully adorned theater, the same one he and his parents spent their last night together inside.
Take a seat, Bruce.
A wild and horrible voice calls out from the ethos. The Monarch Theater, Batman remarks as he stands. You need to get some new tricks. I've faced so many people who hope to use my last happy moment with my parents against me. Bruce calls into the empty theater, feigning confidence to try to settle the churning anxiety in his stomach. Beside him, a projector slowly whirs to life, flashing like the barrel of a gun as the numbers of the screen count down. 3, 2, 1. The giant screen blares to life. Images of Batman in the waking world desperately fighting against a strange foe and his undead army flash before Bruce's eyes. How? He wonders as the villain monologues on screen.
What do the dead dream about?
He laughs in Batman's face.
I can't hurt them.
Batman yells out as he tries to keep the zombified goons at arm's length.
They still have people inside.
Meanwhile, Bruce Wayne's consciousness tries to understand what he's seeing. How am I still moving in the waking world if I'm asleep and trapped in my nightmares? Then, as if to answer his question, Bruce catches sight of a reflection on the screen. Batman's shadow, but with an unmistakable D emblem emblazoned across his chest. Oh no, Bruce realizes. Boston, Bruce says, his eyes once more alight with anger. Deadman, what are you doing? Bruce shouts at the movie screen. I told you to never take over my body. I can't wake up because you're driving. He calls, his words unable to pierce the veil between dreams and the real world. My mind is showing me this so I'll understand, Bruce says to himself. But you're creating roadblocks to my getting control again. Get out of my body, Boston, the child yells. Then, calming himself, Bruce decides to take a more direct approach. Perhaps, he thinks, reaching his arm out towards the movie screen itself. Suddenly, the screen warps and grabs Bruce's arm, pulling him roughly towards and through the screen as though it were some kind of film. No! Bruce calls, but it's too late. The arms grapple him and lift him from his feet, shoving him through the portal and leaving the warped theater behind. Opening his eyes once more, Bruce finds himself outside in the cold Gotham air. The alley, then the Monarch, and now he looks around to get his bearings. My parents' home? Bruce marches further into the woods, unafraid. I'm not impressed, he tells Insomnia, who he knows can hear. You can stop trying to use my parents' death against me, Bruce declares, but his confidence trails off with his sentence as he sees a third grave beside his parents'. Alfred Pennyworth, the gravestone says. Bruce begins scanning the woods. Everywhere he looks, there are more headstones, more graves littering the woods of Wayne Manor than ever before. Or anyone else's. Bruce tries to continue his thoughts, but the tombs around him distract even Batman's indomitable mind. Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, the gravestones read. Damian Wayne, Jim and Barbara Gordon, Talia al Ghul, Cassandra Cain, Duke Thomas, Stephanie Brown, Selena Kyle. What do you want? Bruce calls out. None of this will scare me, so you might as well show yourself and get to the point. The names of all Bruce's loved ones lay etched in stone around him, and when he turns, he sees a never-ending sea of headstones stretched out to the horizon. A voice, someone new, calls out to the boy from the woods. I'm not doing anything, Bruce, it says. That's part of the fun tonight. You're the one controlling the tour of your nightmares. Bruce flashes an eye over his shoulder to see this new threat unveil itself. I'm just along for the ride. Turning to look his enemy in the eye, Bruce is unprepared for the figure standing before him. A full adult man dressed in Dick Grayson's original Robin uniform stands and salutes Batman with a sarcastic bow. Rather than the iconic R emblem, however, this man has an I splashed across his heart. I'm a big fan, the man says. I grew up in Gotham, lived there my whole traumatic life. It was always so cool that not only did we have our very own superhero, we had the Batman. A sinister smile crept across this strange newcomer's face.
In fact, the man continued, I'd love to be your sidekick. All you must do is help me find the Nightmare Stone. Dr. Destiny hid it in the nightmares of one of you heroes. If you tell me where it is, the nightmare will be over. For all of us.
Slowly and menacingly, the man approached the young Bruce, who stared up at him with the deep-set anger and determination of a much older man.
You're the creature who took over John Dee's body, Bruce shot back at the man. What are you?
The villain's grin twisted into a smile.
I'm the thing that goes bump in the night. The boogeyman. Your worst nightmare. But you can call me Insomnia.
Raising his hands, suddenly the dead, rotting corpses of all of Batman's allies began to raise themselves from their graves.
What do you say, baby Bruce?
Insomnia cackled as the zombies began approaching Bruce.
You in?
Though he was small in stature, Bruce's training kicked in just the same.
If you think I've any issue fighting against my own fears, you are mistaken.
Batman called to Insomnia as he took down the zombified fiends trying to kill him. One by one, Bruce cut through his allies until it seemed the threat was neutralized.
This all you got, Insomnia?
Bruce asked, his fists raised in preparation for whatever was coming next. But rather than a new opponent, when Bruce looked up, the ghostly corpse of Catwoman stared lovingly down at him. She wore her wedding dress from her and Bruce's wedding day. Her pale and colorless appearance was the only thing differentiating her from how she looked that tragic day.
Bat, she purred at Bruce. Say yes to Insomnia, and then we can try this again.
Bruce was frozen momentarily. Never did he imagine Insomnia would use the pain of Selina's leaving him at the altar against him.
Oh, buddy, I'd listen to her.
Insomnia chuckled at Bruce, putting an arm around him.
You wouldn't want Cat to leave you again, now would you? But this is the real truth, isn't it? Your greatest fear is happiness.
Bruce's stoic expression darkened into a scowl. I'm not afraid of being happy, he spat at Insomnia as he knocked the hand from his shoulder. Or of you. I faced down the Joker. You are not. But just then, Bruce's words were caught in his throat. He grabbed at his neck desperately, choking as he tried to breathe. Bruce sputtered and flailed as something worked its way up his windpipe.
Oh, Cat got your tongue?
Insomnia joked as Bruce struggled for air.
Or is something else trying to get free?
Horrifically, Bruce's throat began to expand and bubble. His mouth gaped as something dreadful and nightmarish tried to claw its way from inside him. Falling to his knees, Bruce was helpless as a giant bat slowly and tortuously expelled itself from his mouth. When the ordeal was over, Bruce struggled to look up at what he had just vomited up. The gargantuan bat creature twitched as it stood, when suddenly, without warning, it turned to look at Bruce. Rather than a normal face, the creature had a giant gun where its eyes should have been. Instead of making eye contact with Bruce, bullets started raining down on him as the bat monster let out a blood-curdling screech. What is that? Bruce screamed as he darted into the woods, desperately trying to get some cover from the barrage of bullets whizzing past him.
When you became Batman, you turned yourself into a creature of the night, transformed yourself into a symbol of nightmares.
Insomnia said calmly, smirking at Bruce's misfortune.
But now that nightmare has taken on a mind of its own.
As Insomnia yammered on, Bruce sprinted through the forest, but his child's legs could only move so fast. Blam! A gunshot rang into the night as Bruce felt a sharp burning sensation strike him directly in the chest. Ha! Insomnia laughed. Bang, bang! How's it feel to have your own darkness turn against you, Bruce? He called out gleefully, but rather than bleeding out into the grass, Bruce was standing, holding his fresh wound. He began swelling, growing back to full size.
I should thank you, Insomnia,
Bruce said, his voice growing deeper and darker.
I actually felt that.
Bruce's skin ripped and tore, revealing beneath it a terrifying visage of Batman rose where moments before a childlike Bruce Wayne had stood.
And it freed me,
The Batman said in a voice of steel.
I know what I must do. I must go deeper into my own nightmare, into my own mind, to regain control of my body from Deadman.
In a flash of movement, 3 batarangs whistled through the air from Batman's hands and towards the Bat Monster. They pierced the creature and sent it screaming into the night sky.
And then, I'm coming right for you, Insomnia,
Batman said.
You're making a mistake, Batman. You keep bringing up fears, but I'm no Jonathan Crane. I told you before, you're the one building this nightmare, not me.
The Bat Monster flew into the night sky across the forest and gravestone. It landed in a mountain carved into a horrible skull-like visage of Batman. Bruce followed the creature into the mouth of the cave, his new body much stronger and more capable than his old one.
You have lived in the darkness and thought of some of the worst scenarios known to man.
Insomnia's voice rang out through the dream.
If you go too deep into your own nightmare, there is no telling what you might find. What else will your mind create?
The villain asked. As Batman entered the cave, light suddenly filled the cavern, flowing out from the cracks and into the night sky. Bruce opened his eyes once more.
Where am I now?
He said to himself. Panic overtook Bruce as he became aware of his surroundings. He wore an outfit he knew all too well, the same one that Joe Chill wore the night he killed Bruce's parents.
What?
Bruce exclaimed.
Chill?
Looking forward, Bruce saw his father and mother, not looking at him with love, but with fear and hatred in their eyes. Thomas? Martha called out, staring at Bruce with terror.
No.
Bruce begged as his arm slowly rose and leveled a pistol at his father. I'm not in control, he tried to warn his family. I'm not. But the all too familiar bang that always followed echoed across the dream. This time, the gun sparking from Bruce's own hand. As Bruce was tortured by the creations of his subconscious, his son, Damian Wayne, traveled the world in search of a cure to wake the world's heroes, starting with his father, of course. Damian's expedition led him deep into the desert, where he entered an ancient tomb. Inside, an elderly mystic waited for him.
Only a small number of people are mad enough to brave these sandstorms,
The man said.
Have you come to kill me, Damian Wayne?
Damian was not sporting his Robin uniform, rather the tactical armor of a common mercenary. My grandfather used to speak of you in whispers, Robin told the man, a master of sleep and dreams. The elderly monk did not stir.
I am sorry Ra's passed, young demon, he said. He was an old friend, but what do you need of me?
Damian's face darkened. I had a nightmare, he told the man. At first, what I saw faded from my thoughts, but I knew better. I kept searching my mind for it. All I get are images. As he told the mystic of his warped and horrific visions, the images played once more through Damian's mind. His friends, the Teen Titans, being tortured and killed in ways beyond sanity. Images of a man traveling across the dreamscape in search of something, Robin said. It's like it's on the tip of my mind, hidden away from me. Robin shook the vision from his mind's eye and turned back to the monk. I wish to use your temple, he beseeched the man, to unlock my dreams, to understand what was being shown to me, so that I may defeat it. The mystic took a handful of sand, letting it slip through his fingers into the vial of an hourglass.
What you ask is dangerous. The land of dreams is a sacred place. Your grandfather tried to learn how to access it, and failed.
As the elder spoke, Damian's finely tuned senses heard 2 approaching assassins from behind.
Now, you have exactly 1 minute to prove yourself in ways others before you could not.
With relish, finally having something to take his frustration out on, Damian pummeled the ninjas into the sand. Even the mystic looked frightened of the boy's knowledge and mastery of violence. It would really be in people's best interests if they stopped comparing me to everyone else when they try to assess my skills. Damian said, cocky as ever once the assassins were in the dirt.
The books are this way,
The mystic said, standing to lead Damian further into the tomb. Leading Damian to the library, the priest walked Damian through some of the lessons the order bestowed on its students. Eventually, the elder offered him an ancient scroll. These scrolls are records of dreams from long ago, Damian realized, unfurling the scroll before him. Imprinted on the canvas was an illustration depicting Deadman defeated by a raging psychopath. And in the middle, the Nightmare Stone that Insomnia asked Bruce to lead him to. Just then, a communication came through Robin's earpiece. Call Nightwing, Oracle, and Damian. Red alert. Contain Arkham Tower, it ordered. Emergency protocols. Activate no sleep till Gotham. Father, Damian whispered, knowing the emergency beacon meant trouble. Before Robin could depart, however, magical winds swept through the temple. The mystics prepared themselves to withstand the psychic attack, but within moments, all had fallen to deep, unending sleep. Even Robin, though he fought hard to cling to consciousness, eventually fell to the floor, having been taken by slumber. But no sooner had Damian hit the ground that his eyes suddenly shot open, blood-red magic shining behind his pupils. It worked, he proclaimed. I can stay awake, and I remember my nightmare. Changing from his mercenary disguise back into his Robin costume, Damian charged out from the temple and into the desert once more, his mission never clearer in his mind. I must find my father, Damian promised himself, and then Insomnia will pay. For more nightmare situations, check out the time Batman killed everyone to save the universe.